I did everything that I could within the medium that I wanted to do. It didn't matter if it paid. It didn't matter, like, whatever. Um, because I met people and I got opportunities, and I feel like I became more fearless in the choices I made on stage because I was just doing so much all the time that I was like, whatever.
Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Forziat of Take the Doughnut, here to help you get inspiration and get donuts. I'm a motivational keynote speaker, and today I'm bringing you a very exciting Take the Doughnut interview with Pearls Daly, who is an award-winning showgirl, actress, filmmaker, all of the things. Welcome, Pearls.
Hi, Melissa. It's good to see you again.
It's so good to see you again. Yes, we had a chance to have a conversation about the movie Burlesque for Rom-Com Month, but now we're going to get to talk all about you. And I want to start with, the question you have to start with, really. What's your favorite donut?
My favorite donut is definitely the classic, the Homer Simpson donut. I just like that classic glazed donut with the pink frosting and the sprinkles. I've never met a donut I didn't really like, but I have to say that that's always the one I go back to. And if I don't know what I want and I can't make a decision, that's usually the one that I get.
Okay, so that's the fallback option. It's always, but all the donuts are good, and we appreciate all kinds.
Especially right now. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, I said just a little bit about you up front, but tell us more about yourself. What should we know about you?
Sure. Well, professionally, I'm a New York City-based actor by trade and a full-time burlesque performer as well. Um, I found burlesque through the theater. That is my initial background on things. I moved to the city in 2005 to go attend a conservatory program, and I've been here ever since, almost about 20 years. I really love burlesque because I found in my performance journey, it's really the closest thing to old Hollywood that you're going to find in entertainment. I love acting. I love the theater. With those mediums, you tend to have to kind of fit a certain role or a certain type or, a certain, theme, if you will. And while that is really wonderful and great, it is very empowering to be able to create your own character, if you will, and kind of go out into the world and, share your soul with people in that way. So at the moment, I kind of balance the two, as well as I launched a production company in 2020, actually, inspired by my wonderful husband. And we do all kinds of film and video content. And I'm actually going back to my theater roots as well. And this past excuse me, winter, I launched my first burlesque parody, if you will, of the Nutcracker, which has been really exciting. So I'm kind of adding theater production into my company a little bit as well, kind of feeling that call to kind of connect everything that I do and come full circle and kind of put my own unique spin on classic pieces of whether it's theater or ballet, as my version of the Nutcracker is very different. But I am all about somebody who loves to have fun. I love to bring joy to people, and burlesque has been, the perfect medium for me to discover that part of myself.
I really feel from you that you create. You're somebody who brings new things into the world. And it's exciting to have this conversation with you, knowing that you do that. So let me reset this for people who haven't seen a Take the Donut interview before. So Take the Donut for me is an expression. It means the same thing as carpe diem. It's all about going after the things you want in life. It comes from this strange thing that happened in college. I left a real donut on a table, and it became an object lesson for me and what it looks like to leave opportunities behind. So I don't want to do that anymore. I want to take the donut. I'll link a video here for those who haven't seen that origin story before. But basically, this conversation is all about going after the things that you want, the opportunities, the goals, and what does it actually look like for us when we do it? So, with that in mind, I want to ask you this to start. How are you with going after goals? What's that process like for you?
Honestly, when I get a very clear vision for something that I want, it is such a gift. Um, I feel like my production of the Nutcracker is kind of a personal example of that. Growing up, I loved the Nutcracker so much. I had some artistic opportunities, but not a lot. And doing the Nutcracker was definitely not one of them. But I grew up loving the music, loving the score. Whenever there was a production that would come to a local city, I would try to catch it with my mom. And I would, perform the ballet, if you will, in my living room as a kid. And I also had a VHS tape of Mikhail Baryshnikov dancing the Nutcracker, which I wore out. And it was just something that I always wanted to do, but how? My background, I have a pretty heavy dance background in my training, but I'm not a ballerina by any means, especially now. And it was just something that I always had in the back of my mind was it's like, how can I, be a part of this piece of art? And then years later, well into burlesque, it kind of all, clicked in for me. And it's like, okay, well, you can't reinvent the wheel, right? All you can do is make it deeply personal to you. So I was like, okay, well, you know, I wouldn't want to just do the Nutcracker now at this point anyway. What would the Nutcracker look like if I put it through the lens of I'll do the Nutcracker, but I'm going to set it in my apartment in New York City. And I'm going to add all my, the burlesque elements, all of my friends, and kind of take it from there. So that's, I had the goal. I was like, when it became clear to me, like how to do it, um, I just absolutely went for it. And yeah, I hope that answers your question. But that was
Yeah.
that was the most recent goal of mine that I accomplished that I'm really, really proud of. And also, um, as somebody who actually I love having goals, and sometimes they're not as clear, and that can be really like a frustrating and hard experience to kind of go through. But I think once you have one, you should just commit to it fully and finish it. Like just land the plane. That's how I felt about really any goal, but really with the Nutcracker in particular was I was just land the plane. We're gonna do this workshop of this show, and then we're gonna do the show, and it's gonna be great.
It sounds like sometimes with those really big goals that you have an incredibly strong, powerful vision behind it, and it's like you have to keep moving in that direction almost. I wonder when you have something really big like what you just described, if you know it's going to take a while, there's going to be a lot of steps involved. What keeps you motivated in those moments when the motivation starts to dip a little bit? What makes you stay on top of it?
I have to love it. You know what I mean? Like you have to, when it gets down to it, there's going to be hard things with any goal you have in life, whether it is performance related or, family related. There's always going to be the really hard things. And I think you have to have a really strong, like, why am I doing this? What do I love about it? And the truth is, it was like there was many things with Nutcracker in particular that really like I felt so incredibly passionate about that I couldn't let it go, and I couldn't just like you know write it off. On one hand, there was the childhood dream, right? There was the fact that I just loved that story. I love holiday season. Like I love Christmas. I'm kind of embracing that I'm a Christmas girly. I just love the whole spirit of that season. And I love that the Nutcracker is like this fever dream. And I think everybody can, feel the magic of, that music and just everything. So that was number one. Number one is I just loved the material and I loved kind of making it our own with the show. And then number two, there it's also this really big uh, push that I felt for burlesque in particular to have more mainstream appeal and opportunities because it is such a fringe art form a lot of the time. And with love, every now and then we get thrown on. For example, the movie Burlesque, which we talked about. And those things are all wonderful and great, but I feel very strongly about burlesque being the star of the show and kind of being the medium that people are like, wow, that's burlesque. That is so cool. I want to know more about it. And a lot of burlesque is creating your own history within the medium and putting it out there. And you have to be you. And coming from the theater, coming from, this acting background, I was like, we deserve these moments. We deserve these bigger shows with bigger budgets and bigger stages. And also, so many, really, actually, all burlesque artists, for the most part, come to burlesque with so many other deep and wonderful talents that it's like, we deserve a seat at the table because we are also really good actors and we're also really good directors or writers or performance artists. And so often people like to keep burlesque hidden, hidden away, or in this like neatly wrapped little bow, kind of either in the background or, safely away from, anything. So I like the idea of creating work and creating things that kind of gives burlesque the moment that I feel like it deserves.
That's beautifully said. Yeah, when
Thank you.
you have really big goals that you're going after, for most of us, challenges come up along the way. And I'm wondering for you if there's a particular brand of challenge that just always seems to surface for you. Like no matter what type of goal you're going after, this is going to be the Achilles heel you need to watch out for.
Yes, when it comes to producing, I find that it's usually that one moment that will almost break me during any project comes down to relying on another person who has some kind of skill that I really need. And I usually try to do and learn as much as I can and make it happen. But the truth is, it's a collaboration, right? So there's always going to be like that one outside thing that you really need help with. And it's very hard to feel vulnerable. So I'm going to say my answer to that question is it usually for me, it comes down to some kind of technical issue. For example, in Nutcracker, when it came to the set building, I'm not really a set builder. Like along my burlesque journey, I've, cobbled together a couple prop pieces and things using cardboard and like hope, but like I really wanted this to be a professional show with like a real door on stage and like a real thing. And I have to tell you that literally finding a door for my production of the Nutcracker was literally, it almost took me out. Like I I am humble enough to say that that was like a really difficult for whatever reasons. And a big part of it was number one, I didn't know how to like just make a stage door. And number two, finding somebody with that connection who could help me, despite being in the theater or burlesque world was very hard. And it was hard to align schedules. And so I'm gonna go with that. Things that I cannot do or help with on my own that I have to rely on and be vulnerable to other people, that's usually the thing that will stop me in my tracks for a moment. I have to really breathe and take it back and, you know, make another plan, if you will.
That's something that resonates with me as well. I tend to be somebody who'll like I'll just do it myself. I'll just if I go to do something, I'll just get it done.
Oh
But
yeah,
then
yeah.
sometimes when it's delegated, you're like, okay,
Of course.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hear you on this. So when you think back on your life, and this could be a personal or a professional answer, what would you say is the biggest donut that you've taken?
Ooh, okay. Oh, I have a good answer for this, I think. The biggest donut that I've taken, I would say, was the first show that kind of uh, got me into burlesque. Actually, I think that is the biggest donut I've ever taken because it was unlike anything I had ever done. In oh my God, it's like it was I think it was like 2011 now, 2011, 2010 in that time. I auditioned for a replacement contract in an off-Broadway show called Play Dead. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It was this wonderful show. It was directed by Teller from Penn and Teller, and it and it had all this magic in it. And the role for the replacement contract was for this character called Mina Marjorie Crandon, who was actually a real woman. She was a spiritualist medium, if I'm not mistaken. And she was famous for holding seances in the nude. And this was like in the 20s. So this was the woman I would be auditioning and playing. And so this role required full nudity on stage, which I had never done. Up until that point in my career, I couldn't have been more family friendly, if you will. I mean, I worked for Disney. I did a ton of family and children's theater. I was in a Shakespeare company. I did all the classics. But then this opportunity came up, and there were a few things that really intrigued me. Number one, um, getting to work with somebody as creative and cool as Teller, I was like, wow, that sounds really amazing. The show seemed really spooky and cool. I like scary stories, and that's what a lot of this show kind of had was different vignettes of scary stories. I love a challenge, and also there's there's that thing in theater where like, could you be naked? I don't know. It just felt like such a challenge, and I had never done anything like that. And so I was like, I look vintage. I could totally play this part. I'm gonna go for it. So I auditioned, I got a call back. And the thing that was really cool was, it wasn't, nudity for nudity's sake. There was a reason. And in the show, the big pinnacle of the show is Marjorie comes back from the dead and she gets pulled out of a body, like a demon, like getting pulled out of a body. So I'm naked, but I'm covered in blood. So like imagine like creepy, glamorous makeup, white out eyes, but like you're covered in blood and you're like getting pulled out of a body and it's really scary. And then they had this whole illusion where it goes from this medium to another medium who's like older. So there's a whole switch. And so like the body changes and it was an incredible experience. But I I couldn't believe I was there and that I was doing this. And what I did to practice is I would like, when my roommate wasn't home, I would like hang around my apartment completely naked. And I'm like, how do I feel right now? Like, what is this? What does this mean? And, for the callback, you had to do the illusion. So that was like the first audition was like dance movement, and then the second one was like, okay, we're gonna talk you through the trick, if you will. So it's like, I don't want to, I signed a lot of paperwork. It's like whenever I tell the story, there's like certain things I can't share. But let's just say I had to be able to fit in a lot of small places.
Okay.
I will say that, a lot of small places. And I had to, do the illusion once I learned it. And so I showed up for this callback after, hanging out nude in my apartment. I show up to this callback and I remember like looking around and there was a bunch of like lovely dancers and they had leotards and all this stuff. I decided that I was going to wear a robe and I had these little fluffy marabou old Hollywood high heels that I just like randomly had. I loved them. And I remember I walked in and they talked me through the trick and they're like, okay, now, um, are you comfortable? Do you need a moment? And I was like, no, it's fine. I'm ready. And I just like dropped this robe. It was like so dramatic. I like just whipped my robe off and I like took off my little shoes and they were just like, oh, okay. I was just like, let's do it. And so then I did I did the trick and I booked the gig. And so it was like so exciting because it was like a real off-Broadway show. Like it had a marquee and a playbill and all these like exciting people and things. And doing that show, I met my best friend who she did burlesque very heavily at the time. And we just hit it off. We were like, soulmates right away, same sense of humor, the most fun backstage. And I remember like during the run of this show, we would finish this whole show. And she'd be like, "Oh, I have to go, guys. I have a gig. I have a show." And I'm like, "Where are you going?" It's like 10:30 at night. Like, how do you have another show? Like, where are you going? She goes, "Oh, I do burlesque and I'm hosting and I'm singing, I'm doing whatever." She's like, "You should come." And so sure enough, like I started just going just to support her, just to like see, what she was up to, because we were just becoming such good friends. And then she was like, you should do burlesque. Like why aren't you doing why aren't you doing burlesque? And I was like, well, it didn't really occur to me that it was something that I could do. She goes, yeah. She's like, you should come, kitten for me at my shows and, see how you like it. The people are a lot of fun and I think you'd be great. So that was, the start of this really epic, creative pivot journey for me because I started helping her out at her shows. And then word got around on the scene that I was a really good kitten because I was so serious about it. A lot of kittening in burlesque is you're picking up for the other performers, and it's very much like a stage manager, stage hand kind of role, which coming from the theater, I knew well, and I always respected the people who did those jobs. So I knew how to keep a show moving, and I knew how to like, keep it fun and keep it light. And so word got around that they're like, oh, there's this new girl. She's like a really good kitten. She won't lose any of your costumes. She's a lot of fun. Like, hire her. And so it just started snowballing and picking up from there. And now it's like I'm sitting here with you, talking about this moment because that was a rear. Well, it was a rear in many ways. It was my rear in front of a lot of people, including my mother, who came to the show. And got like really scared because there was a lot of blackouts, more on that later. But it was a lot of fun. And I feel like that was, had I, you know, qu- questioned myself too much or questioned, or judged the piece of, what it was and, wrote it off immediately, I don't know, would I be here? I don't know. Burlesque and that whole journey for me, for better or worse, has been really amazing. And I'm very, very grateful. Um, and it was a real moment of like bravery and doing something that I had never done. And yeah, I'm very grateful for that big donut.
What an incredible thing. And it's like, it was one opportunity, but it was a cascade of things that
Yeah.
happened after that. It really like took on a life of its own, it sounds like. And you weren't passive in that process. You were on that journey. And you were allowing those things to happen and those new things to come your way. I mean, it's just amazing. But so is there a donut that you're taking right now? What's in progress for you?
Yes. Well, a big donut that is coming my way, coming this Christmas actually. My production of the New York Nutcracker is going to be playing the Lincoln Center
Oh my goodness.
in New York. Yeah, for one night
Girls.
on December 18th. And again, this is, it's like you have a goal and you put yourself out there and you have all these ideas of how it's going to like happen for you. And then it happens in like a way you would like never expect in a million years. But yes, we are doing one night at Lincoln Center on December 18th. Um, I'll have, more info on it soon, but it's happening. And so yeah, I'm literally kind of already letting people know. And because it is Lincoln Center, I want to like jazz up some, obviously, jazz up some things, change a few things, make it even like bigger and better. So when, the date comes around, we're ready for like the best version of the show that we've been doing. So I'm trying to actually I'm working on that like as we speak because again, that's one baby, but I have a real baby coming in May. And so that's been my main focus, becoming a mother, prepping for motherhood. doing all those little things. So I'm trying to get all the ducks in the row. But I feel like that's actually two pretty big babies coming, which is very, very exciting. So that's my big donut at the moment, if you will, both creatively and personally, actually. But creatively, it's a really big thing for me because it aligns with the goal that I shared with you earlier of getting burlesque in front of people in big ways so people can, learn about us and realize really how much of entertainment is burlesque. So I'm very, very, very excited. So that's my big creative donut at the moment.
What an inspiring time this is to be able to talk with you. You have all these amazing things coming on the horizon. My goodness, a production at Lincoln Center. So, so good. There may be people who are watching this right now who have a donut of their own that they want to take. And it could be still just an idea for them, or it could be something they've started on that journey and they're looking for some motivation to keep going. So, what would you say to those people? Let's sprinkle some encouragement. And what advice would you give?
Oh, I love that. I think that when you see a donut, don't judge the donut. And I think it's really important to take within reason, of course, but I think especially early on in your career, you should take every donut that you can actually eat and stuff in your bag and take with you. Like that was one thing, like, early on in my right before I booked that show, actually, I was taking everything that could come my way that either got me on stage, got me in front of a camera, got me in front of people. I did everything that I could within the medium that I wanted to do. It didn't matter if it paid. It didn't matter, like, whatever. Um, because I met people and I got opportunities, and I feel like I became more fearless in the choices I made on stage because I was just doing so much all the time that I was like, whatever. So I think it, and I know it was a different time, of course. I always try to be understanding that it is a different time now, and maybe people can't always take those opportunities, but I really do feel strongly about that. Like, if you can find a way, do it. Don't ever put your dreams on the back burner. Like, even if you have a day job, which I had 1,000 day jobs early on, and whenever I went into them, I told myself that I was working for myself that day because I was funding my dream and I was funding the things that I wanted to do in the future, whether it was saving money or, when burlesque started happening, it was costumes, it was like different things. I was like, no matter what, respectfully, my dream is on the front burner, and performance and things will come first. So I think those would be my two pieces of advice. Take the donut, don't judge it. You literally don't know where it will send you. I mean, that show could have been like, yay, a good show, but like I could have been like, oh, I did the show, on to the next thing. I could, but it changed my life. Like it really changed the trajectory of my career and my life and even my friends. I mean, my friend Sherry, who I met doing that show, is still my best friend. Like, we talk all the time. She's like, so like, she's like the sister I never had. You know what I mean? So there's also that too. Like, I'm leaving this planet with a really dear friend. Like, and that's all because I'm gonna take that donut. I'm gonna take that one donut. Take all the donuts and put your donut first. That would be my advice.
This is so good and so inspiring, especially in the context of the story you've shared about what your journey, because you have been living this. You're not just telling people to do it, you've been living that advice, and it's so beautiful to see where things have gone for you so far. So, where for those of us who want to follow your journey, for those of us who want to learn more about the show coming up at Lincoln Center in December, for all of those things, where can we find you? What links should I put in the description?
My Instagram is the Pearls Daily Show. That's always like a great spot because I post there the most, excuse me, out of everything. And then my website is pearlsdaily.com. I update that as well. I feel like between those two, those are like the most active at the moment. I dream of being more active on TikTok. At the moment, I'm kind of just floating on there, and I'm more of a fan of other people on TikTok. But I think it would be fun to explore that more. I am on there, Pearls Daily Burlesque on TikTok as well. But I feel like Instagram and my website, you'll get a good feel for what I'm up to, and especially with the Nutcracker, I'll have all the information about our night at Lincoln Center on there, uh, probably for this summer. So you can check me out there.
Perfect. Well, everybody, be sure to check out those resources. A lot of exciting things coming up for Pearls, and you can find out what they are at those resources. And if you liked hearing Pearl's story, be sure to like and subscribe on this video because there's so many inspirational interviews still to come. But in the meantime, thank you so much, Pearls, for taking some time, especially as you're getting closer to your due date, for taking this time to talk with me, to talk with all of us about taking the donut.
Thank you for having me. I love this series. I love what you're doing. I think it's really important that we inspire each other and have these conversations because you never know what somebody went through to get to where they are. And it's so cool to see how, people think about, their process and their donuts, if you will. So thank you for having me. Like you're a delightful host and I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Well, I mean, gosh, that feels like a great place to end. Okay, everybody, you know what to do. Go out there, get inspiration, get donuts.